A warm welcome to all my dear 7th standard children. Today we are going to see your 4th chapter from your biology. So what's your 4th chapter? It's about respiration, right? Yes. Now we all know that all living things need energy to do any kind of activities, right? So even though the living things as well as non-living things need energy to do work. If they don't get energy, they cannot do the work, right? So now from where this energy is derived, from where we get the energy? Yes, of course we all know that all the living things eat food, right? So from the food the energy is derived. So whatever the food that we eat is broken down into simpler substances, so which is known as digestion, right? So these simpler substances or simpler molecules are absorbed in your walls of the small intestine, right? And it is mixed into your blood. Then the energy that is carried into your blood to all the parts of your body, right? Now how this energy it is utilized, how do we get this energy from the blood, right? So when we respire, so what happens? The energy, that is we derive energy from the food oxidation. So when the food molecules are oxidized, when the food molecules are mixed with, combines with the oxygen, so thereby it liberates some energy and we can get even the carbon dioxide is liberated because of this reaction. So the food is oxidized, the food is combines with the oxygen. How this food is combining with the oxygen? So you will have some simpler substances in the form of glucose, in the form of amino acids, in the form of fatty acids, right? So we all know that glucose and fatty acids gives you energy, right? So this glucose and fatty acids mix with the oxygen and thereby it gives you energy, thereby we can able to do many kind of activities, okay? So for our body needs energy to do various kind of activities inside our body, okay, right? So how do we get the oxygen? How do the food molecules, that is the glucose or it may be a fatty acid, how these substances are mixing with the oxygen? It's because of a process called respiration, right? So today in this class we are going to learn about what is respiration and what are the organs and functions of the respiration, and also we are going to see the difference between the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Next we are going to learn about the respiration in plants and what is the difference between respiration and photosynthesis. So we all know that photosynthesis is a process done by the plants, right? Yes. So what is the difference between that? Next we are going to learn what is the need for growing plants, right? So first we will see what are the parts that involve in the respiration. So we know that respiration means taking in of oxygen and thereby giving out of carbon dioxide. Now how this air, how this oxygen or carbon dioxide is traveling into our body, right? Yes. So we do have a nose on our face, right? So the nose has a openings called nostrils. So through the nostrils the oxygen in the air is present and thereby we inhale the oxygen through our nostrils. So the air enters into your nasal cavity. Nasal cavity is your place inside your nose, thereby you can see many hair structures that is present in the nose. So this hair structures prevent entry of dust or entry of germs to enter into your nose. So thereby the hairs take in only the gas, that is the oxygen that you inhale. So this oxygen travels into your nasal cavity and thereby it extends into your pharynx. It goes through the pharynx. So, pharynx is a place you can see here, there only we can see two type of openings will be there. So, one is called as food tube, that is food pipe, the other one is called as windpipe. So, when we eat the food, your food pipe opens and your windpipe closes. When we breathe, your food pipe closes and your windpipe opens. So, this is a place which is known as pharynx. Okay. Then the air travels through the pharynx and enters into a place called larynx. So, larynx is a place which is known as voice box. So, here only we can see that once the air enters into that place, we can get vibrations in that place. Okay. So, after the larynx, this is the, here is the larynx. So, after the larynx, the air enters to a place called windpipe. So, windpipe is also called as trachea. So, this trachea is protected by a cartilage, very tough and elastic bones which is known as cartilages. Okay. So, from the windpipe, from the trachea is further extended into two branches which is known as bronchi. Okay. So, each bronchi has a sac like structure, sponge sac like structure that is present in the chest region which is known as lungs. Okay. So, we have two lungs on the right side and on the left side. Okay. Right. So, this inside, once the bronchi enters into the lungs, so it is branched into many branches which is known as bronchioles, and each bronchioles have a air sacs which is known as alveoli. Okay. So, singular we can say alveolus. So, here only in the alveolus the oxygen enters into the alveolus, and thereby in the alveoli or in the alveolus is covered with the blood capillaries, thereby here only exchange of gases takes place. So, the oxygen present in the alveoli enters into the blood, and from the blood the carbon dioxide enters into the alveolus, and thereby the carbon dioxide travels through the bronchioles, bronchi, windpipe, larynx, pharynx, nasal cavity, and the carbon dioxide is exhaled out. Okay. Now, let us see what are the organs that involve in respiration. So, we will see about respiration now. So, respiration is the process by which the living things take in the oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. So, this oxygen first enters into the nostrils which is present in the nose. Okay. So, first the air, the oxygen enters into the nose. Inside the nose you have the nasal cavity, the air, the oxygen enters into the nasal cavity and it is going through the pharynx. Okay. So, after pharynx the oxygen enters into the larynx. So, here which is known as voice box. So, after the larynx the air enters into the windpipe which is known as trachea. Okay. So, windpipe. So, windpipe is known as trachea. So, after that the trachea is further divided into two branches which is known as bronchi, and each bronchi has a sac, spongy sac called lungs. Okay. So, inside the lungs we can see the bronchus is divided into many branches which is known as bronchioles. Okay. So, inside the lungs we can see bronchioles, and each bronchioles has a sac like structure which is known as alveoli, and we can see many alveolus is present in the bronchioles. Okay. So, after that alveoli. So, in the alveoli only the exchange of gases takes place. Okay. So, this is the ways, through this ways the oxygen enters into the alveoli, into the blood capillaries, and from the blood capillaries again the carbon dioxide is diffused into the alveoli and the carbon dioxide comes in a reverse process, right. Now, let us see how the air is, how the respiration takes place. So, here we can see in the respiratory system we can see the air, that is the oxygen, enters into the body through the nostrils, right. So, then the air enters into the alveoli. So, in the alveoli the exchange of gases takes place, and we can see the lungs is present in the thorax cavity, that is in our chest region, which is protected by the rib cage. Okay, and below the lungs we can see a muscle which is known as diaphragm. This diaphragm helps in respiration, right. Okay, next we are going to see, this is the lungs. So, the lungs has, in the right side it is made up of 3 lobes. The lungs are protected by a membrane called pleura. Okay. So, here in the right side it is made up of 3 lobes, and in the left side it is made up of 2 lobes, right. So, this is the spongy sac like structure that is helps in respiration, right, which is known as lungs, and this lungs are divided by the branch called bronchi, and you can see the trachea. Trachea is a windpipe. Okay. So, here the windpipe is protected by the cartilage, and from the windpipe you can see pharynx and then the nostrils. Okay. So, the air, the oxygen is entering into the nostrils, and thereby the oxygen travels through the pharynx, windpipe, bronchi, and here inside the lungs this bronchi is further divided into many branches which is known as bronchioles, right. So, inside the bronchioles the oxygen is travelling, and in the end of the bronchioles you can see the alveoli. So, inside the alveoli you can see many alveolus is present, and inside the alveoli you can see the blood capillaries are surrounded by the alveolus. Okay. So, here you can see the alveolus. So, here the blood capillaries are surrounded by the alveolus. So, here the deoxygenated blood from the heart is taken through the blood capillaries, and here no oxygen is present. So, the oxygen which is taken by the alveolus is diffused into the blood capillaries. So, thereby the blood capillaries will be added with the oxygen. The oxygen is diffused into the blood capillaries, and also the carbon dioxide is present in the blood capillary. That carbon dioxide is diffusing into the alveolus, right. So, from the alveolus the carbon dioxide is taken up by all the alveoli, and then the carbon dioxide is travelling through the bronchioles, and from the bronchioles the carbon dioxide will again travel through the bronchi, comes out of the lungs, bronchi, and from the bronchi we can see the carbon dioxide goes out through the nose. We can exhale the carbon dioxide through the nose. So, this taking in of oxygen is known as inhalation, right, and giving out of carbon dioxide which is known as exhalation. So, this process of inhalation and exhalation is known as respiration, right. So, this is what respiration is, which includes, we can see, taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide. So, once we inhale oxygen, so the lungs expand. So, here the lungs expand when we inhale oxygen and the diaphragm goes down. But when we exhale, when we give out carbon dioxide, the lungs contract and thereby the diaphragm comes up, right. So, this is the thing that is present in the respiration process, right. So, now let us see the types of the respiration. So, we know that respiration takes place when there is a release of energy when the oxygen is involved, right. So, this we can say there are 2 types of respiration on the basis of the oxygen usage, right. So, when the oxygen is used up, which is known as aerobic respiration, and when the oxygen is not used up, it is known as anaerobic respiration. So, it is the aerobic means the presence of oxygen, anaerobic means without the oxygen, with the absence of oxygen. So, some organisms, if you take bacteria or fungi, so they without oxygen also they respire, right. So, how they respire? By breaking down the food particles partially to get the ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide and energy, right. But in the presence of oxygen, so the food molecules are completely broken down into carbon dioxide, water and releasing energy. So here in the aerobic respiration, energy release will be more, but in the anaerobic respiration the energy release is less. So this is the difference between the aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Next we are going to see here in the aerobic respiration, the food, glucose, oxygen, carbon dioxide, you can see the oxygen is involved in the breaking down of food, thereby giving out carbon dioxide, water and energy in the form of ATP. So ATP is the energy stored in the special molecules in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, right. Then we can see here the food glucose is broken down partially to give ethyl alcohol, energy and waste products, right. So this is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. The next one, the difference between the breathing and cellular respiration. So in the respiration there are two process of respiration. So where breathing, which is known as external respiration, and cellular respiration is known as internal respiration. So breathing, which involves only taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide, here no enzymes is involved. So it is a physical process, exchange of gases, it occurs only outside the cells and enzymes are not involved and no energy is released in the process of breathing, right. And when the process of cellular respiration, the respiration is the respiration takes place inside the cells, right. So the chemical, it is a chemical process where food molecules are oxidized to carbon dioxide and water, and it occurs inside the cells and enzymes are involved in the cellular respiration and energy is released. So the energy is released in the cellular respiration, right. So this is the difference between the breathing and cellular respiration. Now next we are going to see the difference between the combustion and respiration. So combustion is different from respiration. So combustion means it takes place in a higher temperature, but respiration takes place in a normal room temperature, and combustion is a fast process whereas respiration is a slow and stepwise process, right. So it occurs in the non-living things. Combustion occurs in the non-living things, respiration occurs in the living things, and here heat and light energy is produced, but here the energy is stored as a chemical molecules inside our body, and enzymes is not involved, but here in the respiration enzymes are involved. So this is the difference between the respiration and combustion, right. So combustion is different from the respiration. So almost in this class you have learnt about the process of respiration, process of breathing. So in that you learn there are two types of respiration which involves oxygen, right. When the oxygen is involved, which is known as aerobic, and when the without the oxygen, which is known as anaerobic, right. You learnt about the difference between aerobic and anaerobic, and also you learnt about the difference between the breathing and the cellular respiration, and also you learnt the difference between the respiration and combustion. So go through the lesson, go through the given questions. In the description you can see the Google Drive link, click that and you will get the lesson related study material, question bank and self assessment. Take it and copy in your biology note and read from it, so that you will come to know how far you have understood about the respiration. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.